Welcome back to our CEO.CA community. My name is Amrit Gill, and we are at PDAC in Toronto, the world's premier mineral exploration and mining convention. Joining me now is Ali Haji, CEO and Director of Ion Energy. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How has the convention been for you so far?
It's certainly been busier than what we had last June, but that also may have to do with the weather. Given it is cold, people are sort of forced to walk the halls and come into the conference, as opposed to when it's held in June, folks tend to stay outside because the weather is simply nicer.
So tell us a little bit about your company and the current value proposition.
Sure. Ion Energy is a company I co-founded in 2017 with the vision of looking for lithium in Mongolia. We went public in August 2020 on the TSX Venture under ticker ION. We currently hold two assets, the Bavai Ul project in Sukmatar province and Urgakhnaren in Dorngovi province. We had a couple of delays with respect to exploration purely because we are first movers in the lithium space in Mongolia, and that skill set did not exist in country. When Mongolia finally opened up last year, we were able to get our team out there, which consists of industry veterans such as Don Haynes and Dr. Mark King. And we started on an exploration program on Urgakhnaren that's rather all-encompassing, if you will. So we began with some auger drilling. We then stepped up to geophysics, and then we've completed now 3 of our diamond holes, of which results were released last year as well.
So tell us about your experience that you bring to the table to help bring this vision to life, and a little bit about the team that make up the fabric.
Absolutely. My background stems in asset management. I started my career at Invesco, worked there for about 13 years. My father's been in mining in Zambia for the last 4 decades, so you could say it runs in the blood. Around 6 years ago or so, I partnered with Anil Viraj of Atma Capital Markets to co-found Ion Energy. Our team consists of individuals that have had a significant amount of mining experience. For instance, our chairman, Matthew Wood, he's had various successes around the world, including the sale of Avanco Resources in Brazil. And from a technical perspective, we have a team that consists of Dr. Mark King. He was the qualified person on file at Lithium when it sold to Zijin for about $1 billion 14 months ago. We also have Don Haynes, who is widely accredited as being the individual to have first written a 4311 for lithium here on the TSX.
So what are some of the benefits to operating in Mongolia?
Mongolia is a resource-rich nation. It's about 1.5 million square kilometers, so about 1.5 times the size of Ontario, a population of 3.5 million people, so very sparsely populated. It's vastly considered one of the last frontiers in terms of mineral endowment. In fact, we've had the opportunity to sit down with the ministry over the course of this PDAC and really review how much of the country has been explored. We believe that, or we are told, 1% of the entire country has been given up for mining licenses. And there's a fair bit of potential there. But in addition to it being a mineral-rich country that is heavily reliant on mining, you have the necessary skill set in country for you to advance your assets. So you don't require expensive expats to come in and operate your mining operations in country. And then last but not least, let's not forget that Mongolia borders China, a behemoth of a consumer for any commodity today. And so having that neighbor in such close proximity, of course, is a massive advantage as far as operating in Mongolia.
Yeah, well, can I get you to elaborate on some of the risks and the opportunities to operating so close to China?
A lot of the risks associated with operating in Mongolia have now been mitigated. Historically, Oyu Tolgoi and Rio Tinto appeared to have soured relationships in terms of anybody's view for Mongolia. But Rio Tinto, as of last year, in fact, has doubled down on their investment at Oyu Tolgoi, essentially putting about $8 billion back into the Mongolian economy. So that's a strong indication of a jurisdiction that perhaps may have been deemed risky. But if a global major like Rio Tinto has opted to double down on their investment, we don't see it as a risky environment at all.
You recently announced the resumption of water drilling in Urgakhnaren. Can you provide some more context or an update?
Absolutely. In terms of the drilling we did last year, that was lithological in nature. So the goal of that program was to identify whether that basin was impregnated with lithium. We put out a report in December showing the market that we had found about 310 ppm average grade lithium across holes that are 2.5 to 3 kilometers apart with a 100-meter intercept. And that, of course, proved that that basin was impregnated. The next step in the process was to drill water wells. And so we've completed 2 of the 3 water wells. And as you've rightly pointed out, as of last week, we've announced that we are completing our 3rd hole. The water wells are important because those allow you to collect the brine samples at depth. So they are 6-inch tricone bit drilled holes with 4-inch steel slotted pipes that are gravel packed. The slotted pipes allow the brine to come into that hole, at which point you deploy a bailer system and piezometers to measure various characteristics and quality of the brine. Upon concluding the assays of those brine samples, you can infer a resource based on the TM geophysics that we had done last summer.
Well, what needs to happen to obtain an inferred resource calculation?
It's rather rudimentary. If you look at the geophysics program that was concluded last year, we had a volume of about 9.9 billion cubic meters at half an ohm cutoff. So that's a significant sort of body of low resistivity brine that we've seen through that program. If we have an average grade, hypothetically speaking, let's call it 100 milligrams per liter of brine, and you multiply that by the 9.9 billion cubic meters, you can infer a resource on that basis. So lithium brine inferred resource calculations are vastly simpler, if you will, than perhaps any other mineral out there in terms of hard rock drilling. But the general market will have a sense of our inferred resource before the summer.
Yeah. Could you provide some insight on discussions happening with strategic partners?
Of course. In terms of strategics, we're currently speaking with a number of strategics. Of course, Canada put out an order in October that spoke to the critical nature of various elements, including lithium. That has in turn delayed some conversations, I should say, with the Chinese, for instance. However, we are working on various other strategic conversations that will allow us to validate the work that we're doing in Mongolia as first movers.
Yeah. Do you think lithium is following an atypical mining supercycle?
I would say that the prices in their current form are indicative of a gap in supply. That said, I don't think the prices are sustainable. They've come down a fair bit from a high of 85,000 per ton to now about 74,000 ton. In order for a lithium ion battery or an electric vehicle to remain affordable to the mass market and our regular consumers without government subsidies, that price will have to come down in order to ensure that we can build those cars and not have the massive subsidies in place. But we are seeing more and more unconventional lithium resources come online as well. And so as a result of that, we'll start to see that price come down. I do not think it's a super cycle. I think this is something that will be continued to be required for the clean green energy revolution.
What is the upside potential for ion investors?
I think, one just needs to look as far back as recent as the Arena Minerals transaction. That was a sale of about $277 million. If you look at the precedent transactions in the space, our market cap today is trading at about 20 million Canadian. We have the volume that shows, as I mentioned, 9.9 billion cubic meters. And when we have our assay results closer towards the next five or so weeks, we expect a significant re-rate in multiples as to where we are today.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our community at CEO.CA?
No, I would just like to say it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you to all our shareholders for your continued support.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ali. I hope you enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks very much.